There's a version of your future that nobody warns you about. Not the dramatic kind, not bankruptcy, not disaster. Just a quiet Tuesday morning when you're 45 years old, sitting at your kitchen table before anyone else wakes up, and you finally open a retirement calculator for the first time in your life. And the number it gives you doesn't even come close. This is the story of Daniel, a regular man. Good job, loving family, a life that looked, from the outside, completely fine. But for 20 years, he ignored one number on one page of his HR paperwork. And that single decision quietly rewrote the ending of his story. This isn't a story about being irresponsible. It's a story about being human. And it might already be your story, too. Daniel is 24 years old when he walks into his first real job. Marketing coordinator, $47,000 a year. A badge with his photo on it that he'll carry in his wallet for the next 3 years. On his first day, HR slides a folder across the desk. Benefits, insurance, direct deposit, and somewhere near the back, a single page about his 401k. How much of each paycheck does he want to set aside for retirement? Daniel reads the first 2 lines, sets it aside, tells himself he'll come back to it after he gets settled. He never comes back to it. And who could blame him, really? At 24, retirement feels like a foreign country you've never visited and can't quite picture. There's rent to pay, a car that needs new tires, a social life that costs more than he expected. The money feels better right now, in his hands, in his account, in his life, so that's where it stays. What Daniel doesn't realize, what nobody sat down and told him clearly, is that his company is offering to match his contributions up to 3%. Free money, every single paycheck. His employer will literally double his investment, dollar for dollar, up to that limit. Daniel doesn't claim a single cent of it. Not this year, not next year, not for a very long time. Time moves differently when life is full. Daniel gets promoted at 28, his salary climbs to $64,000, and he celebrates by moving into a nicer apartment, one with in-unit laundry and a view he actually likes. He starts dating someone seriously. Life has momentum now, a direction, a feeling of forward motion. At 30, he gets married. At 32, there's a baby. Suddenly, the budget that felt tight before becomes a puzzle he solves every single month. Daycare, diapers, a mortgage on a house in a good school district. He thinks about the 401k sometimes, usually on Sunday nights when he's reviewing bank statements and the numbers feel too close together. But there's always something more urgent, a car repair, a medical bill, a month where everything seems to hit at once. So he tells himself the same thing he told himself at 24. Later. I'll handle it later, when things settle down. But here's the truth about compound interest that nobody teaches you in school. It is completely indifferent to your circumstances. It doesn't care about the mortgage. It doesn't pause for the baby. It doesn't wait for a calmer season of life. It runs silently, relentlessly, every single day, for the people who showed up. And every year Daniel waits, the gap between where he is and where he needs to be gets wider. Not by a little, by a lot. The first warning comes at 38. Daniel is at a bar with his old college roommate Marcus. Same age, similar salary, same starting line. Marcus mentions, almost casually, that he just hit $180,000 in his 401k. Daniel laughs, raises his glass, changes the subject. But on the drive home, he does the math in his head, and something about it doesn't sit right. He pushes the feeling down. He's good at that. At 40, the company sends out its annual benefits email. Daniel opens it, scrolls past the health insurance section, finds the 401k enrollment link. His cursor hovers over it for a moment. Then he closes the tab, gets back to work. At 41, his father retires. There's a small party, cake, a card signed by coworkers. His dad standing in the parking lot of his office for the last time, smiling in a way Daniel has never quite seen before. No stress behind his eyes. No calculation running in the background. Just relief. Real, earned, permanent relief. Daniel watches him and feels something he can't name. Something that sits in his chest for days afterward. At 43, his company switches 401k providers. There's a mandatory information meeting. A financial advisor stands at the front of the room and shows a simple chart. $400 a month, 30 years, average market return. The ending balance on the screen, $650,000. Daniel stares at that number, then does the math backwards. If he had started at 25, he'd be more than halfway there by now. He drives home in complete silence, doesn't turn on the radio, doesn't call anyone, just drives. The morning of his 45th birthday, Daniel wakes up before his alarm. The house is still dark. His wife is asleep. The kids won't be up for another hour. He sits down at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and his phone. He opens a retirement calculator. It's the first time he's ever used one. He types in what he has, $11,000, a forgotten account from a job in his early 30s that he never rolled over. He types in what he can realistically contribute each month now, with the mortgage and 2 kids in school, $600. He types in his target retirement age, 65, 20 years from right now. He hits calculate. The number comes back, $196,000. He sits with that number for a long time. Then he searches what financial advisors say you actually need to retire comfortably. The answer, depending on your lifestyle, is somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million. Daniel sets his phone face down on the table. He doesn't panic. He doesn't make a sound. But something shifts behind his eyes, something quiet and permanent, like a door closing in a room he'll never quite get back into. 20 years of paychecks, 20 years of employer match uncollected, 20 years of compound interest running for someone else. He didn't spend that money on anything wild. He didn't lose it. He just never started. And starting, it turns out, was everything. Daniel doesn't fall apart. But for 2 weeks, he doesn't sleep the way he used to. He starts reading at night after the house goes quiet. Not scrolling, reading. Books, articles, long-form guides about retirement planning that he used to skip past without a second thought. He learns things he wishes someone had explained to him at 24. He learns that at 50, the IRS allows catch-up contributions, an extra $7,500 per year on top of the standard 401k limit, specifically designed for people who are starting late. He learns about index funds, about expense ratios, about why time in the market almost always beats timing the market. He makes an appointment with a fee-only financial advisor. She reviews his numbers. She doesn't flinch, she doesn't lecture, but she tells him the truth. You can't buy back the time, she says, but you're not out of options, not even close. That week, Daniel enrolls in his 401k. He sets his contribution to 15% of his salary, the highest he can manage without the household falling apart. He chooses a target date fund. He enables auto-escalation so the percentage increases automatically every year. He cancels the family vacation that summer, sells his car and buys something older, paid in cash, finds $400 a month he didn't realize he had, money that had always been there, just leaking out in every direction without purpose. He is 45 years old. He knows he's starting late. He starts anyway. If you ask Daniel today what he would tell his 24-year-old self, he wouldn't say invest wisely. He wouldn't say learn about the market. He'd say one thing: just start. Because the mistake Daniel made wasn't complicated. He didn't make bad investments. He didn't get taken advantage of. He wasn't financially reckless. He just kept choosing the present over the future. Every year for 20 years, the present won. And the future, quietly, without drama, without a single warning siren, paid the price. Here's what the math looks like when you actually see it. $200 a month, starting at 25, invested in a basic index fund with average market returns, becomes roughly $190,000 by the time you're 45, without touching it, without thinking about it, without doing anything except starting. That money was always available to Daniel. The market was always open. The 401k form was always in the folder. He just never filled it out. You are watching this right now. Maybe you're 23 and this feels like a story about someone else. Maybe you're 34 and you recognize something uncomfortable in Daniel's pauses. Maybe you're 41 and your chest feels a little tight right now. It doesn't matter. The second best time to start has always been today. This week, not next month, not when things calm down, not after the holidays. Log into your HR portal, enroll in your 401k, contribute at least enough to capture your full employer match. Because that match is a 50 to 100% instant return on your money. There is nothing else in the financial world that gives you that. Daniel will retire. It will be tighter than it should have been. There are dinners he won't take, trips he'll skip, a retirement that looks different than the one he quietly imagined. But he'll get there, because he finally started. The only question left is whether you will too.